मैडम को बुला लो। हाँ।
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today's program is on release of analysis of quality annual quality assurance report of Nagaland, Sikkim, and Tripura by Shri Tathagata Roy, Honourable Governor of Meghalaya. Our program will go like this: 11:58 arrival of dignitaries on the dais. Then 11:59 we have national anthem. 12 to 12:05 introduction and welcome address by Professor S.C. Sharma, Director NAC. 12:06 to 12:16 address by Professor Bhushan Patwardhan, Vice Chairman UGC. Then 12:17, 12:20 release of reports by Honourable Governor. 12:21 to 12:56 address by Honourable Governor on reflections of higher education scenario post COVID-19. 12:57 to 1:12 we will have question and answer session. Then vote of thanks by myself. I am Professor Amiya Kumar Rath, Advisor NAC. Then we have national anthem. Yes. I request all the participants to rise during national anthem. I request all the participants to rise during national anthem. National anthem will be played at 11:59 during the starting of the program and again at the end of the program. I request all the participants to rise during national anthem. Shortly we are starting the program. Because program is also live on YouTube and Twitter. The program is live on YouTube and Twitter. More than 15,000 participants, vice chancellors, director IQAC, principals, and professors, and all academicians are present in this particular presentations. I request all of you to switch off your mobile phones or put it in the silent mode so that there will not be any disturbances. The participants, those who are in Cisco WebEx, they all will be in mute mode. They all will be in mute mode in the entire presentation except the panelist. The panelist we have our Honourable Governor of Meghalaya, Shri Tathagata Roy ji. Then we have our Director NAC, Professor S.C. Sharma. Then we have Vice Chairman UGC, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan. I'm Professor Amiya Kumar Rath, and then Professor Srikant Swami. Now we will have our national anthem. I request all the participants to rise for national anthem. Give introduction of our guest. Sir, please.
Good afternoon to one and all. Ladies and gentlemen, व्याधिभिर पण्ड्यते नैव चोरेणापि न नीयते दाने नैव क्षयं याति विद्यारत्नं महद्दनम्. The bhavartha of this subhashita is the gem called knowledge cannot be parted amongst brothers, associates by making it into pieces. It cannot be snatched by thieves. It will not get drained if it is disseminated. Hence, the knowledge gem is considered as greatest asset in the world. It is my privilege to introduce Professor Tathagata Roy ji, Honourable Governor of Meghalaya, a distinguished academician, civil engineer, administrator, legal expert, prolific writer, moreover, a visionary with humanitarian persona. After his VRS from Indian Railways in 1990, he joined as professor at Jadavpur University. He is a former Board of Governors of TTI, Calcutta, is a fellow of Institution of Engineers and life member of Indian Council for Arbitration. Being an ardent Swayam Sevak, after his government service, plunged into politics by joining BJP and became its state president of West Bengal. Meanwhile, during 2014, he had ties with Lok Sabha elections. On 12th May 2015, he was appointed as governor of Tripura and later he was transferred and appointed governor of Meghalaya on 25th August 2018. Honorable Governor has been felicitated as an eminent engineering personality by the Institution of Engineers India during 2015. He was conferred on with honoris causa by Shri JJT University, Rajasthan during 16 and honoris causa by National Institute of Technology, Tripura during November 2016. Honorable Governor has authored several books both in English and Hindi, Bengali on subjects to socio-political issues. My people uprooted the exodus of Hindus from East Pakistan and Bangladesh and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Life and Times, which has been translated into Hindi as Apratim Nayak, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. Sir, I wholeheartedly welcome you. Our guest of honor, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan ji, is Vice Chairman of UGC. Namaskar, sir. Basically, he is a passionate biomedical scientist and fellow of National Academy of Sciences and National Academy of Medical Sciences. Earlier, he was professor and director, Interdisciplinary School of Health Sciences at Savitribai Phule University. He is a member of important national committees and apex bodies, with UGC, of course, is the vice chairman, AICTE, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Science and Engineering Research Board, DST, and so on. Professor Bhushan Patwardhan ji has worked on several policy-making bodies with task forces of Knowledge Commission, Planning Commission, and also consultant at WHO Geneva. Apart from this, he is editor-in-chief of Journal of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine, published by Elsevier and other reputed journals. Professor Bhushan Patwardhan ji is recipient of many awards and accolades. To name a few, Sir Ramnath Chopra Oration, Waldemar Ackman Oration, Dr. Dwarkanath Oration, Dr. P.K. Devi Oration, KLE University Oration, and several others. Several of his scholarly books and articles, both published by academic press Elsevier, have received excellent reviews. Recently, he authored a scholarly article titled Reimagining Indian Universities, Learning from the Glorious Past, which throws light on our education system, connecting roots from the past. It envisioned the path of progressiveness for the higher education institutions and universities to ponder for through self-study and introspect their institutional mission to establish greater holistic way of imparting knowledge. It's a wonderful article. In fact, it also depicts about our ancient history and theory of education and how education has progressed over a period of years and what are the solutions, etc. He is a passionate researcher, a good human being. Sir, I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Thank you. I am grateful to Professor Shrikant Swami, our academic consultant and a renowned academician who served in the field of education for 4 decades. He was the principal of RV School of Education here in Bangalore. and he has done a lot of work for the Asim Premji Foundation and several of the other foundations, etc. And he is mainly responsible in bringing out this book. Of course, major part of the writing he has done. And I also thank Dr. Wahidul Hassan for his encouragement and help rendered during this process. I must thank Dr. Amay Kumar, Dr. Amay Kumar, who is a professor of computer science and engineering from Veera Surendra Sai University, Orissa. He has come on deputation and changed the scenario and efficiently supported by Dr. Samuel. I must be grateful to all my colleagues and one and all, and of course for the administrative and logistic help, our Mr. Chandrasekhar ji, academic consultant. And I welcome all of you. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Now I request Professor Bhushan Patwardhan, Vice Chairman, University Grants Commission, to address his speech. Sir, please.
Honourable Governor of Meghalaya and eminent academician, Professor Tathagata Roy. Sir, it's a great pleasure for me to meet you, although virtually. I hope to see you sometime and spend some quality time with you. Honourable Director, Professor S.C. Sharma, who has given a new face to NAC now with a very good team, including several advisors and young technologists such as Professor Rath, who is really giving a very good direction for the technological advancements in NAC. I'm very happy that the annual quality report is being released today, and I must acknowledge the work of NAC during last couple of months to consistently improve the quality of their offerings. If you look at last 1 year, 1.5 years, NAC has produced several documents which are very, very important and useful for the higher education. This also includes various new guidances that NAC has come out with. And NAC has started also hand-holding various institutions by training workshops and by creating a lot of awareness, because we know that the outreach of NAC has to be improved and many more colleges and universities have to be brought in. UGC has started a scheme called Paramarsh, and I'm happy to see the progress of NAC during these years. Having said that, I'm so impressed to look at the title. I will, of course, listen to Honorable Governor, but of his talk itself is very, very intriguing. So his reflections on higher education, I look forward to hear more. My reflections, sir, as Professor Sharma has mentioned, we have just written an article on reimagining Indian universities. And I will send you a copy of that separately and would like to discuss that with you. I think our current education system, we are still trapped with the British mindset and colonial mindset, and the purpose of the education, which is very important, rediscover that purpose of education, because today our purpose has remained the same what was deliberated or articulated by Macaulay. We have not changed that purpose. So our entire system still follows that Macaulayan model. English dominance, the local languages are ignored, and we are really finding it very difficult to understand our own culture, our own history. If Indian students don't know their own culture and our history, forget about what discipline they are, the basic value systems, So these are the components which are missing currently in our overall system. And I think UGC has started doing some efforts in this direction by bringing quality mandate. Quality mandate has 10 verticals. And these 10 verticals actually address to starting from faculty development program to improving quality of research. I'm happy to tell you that we have come out with many new research schemes such as STRIDE, and also new initiatives such as CARE, which try to really improve the quality of our research as well as improve the quality of our teaching. Just today, our article has been published in EPW, in which we are talking about new ways of measuring the access to education. GER, or gross enrollment ratio, which we used to be banking upon, we are saying that that is not the right indicator for India, and we are proposing a new indicator called eligible enrollment ratio, details of which are available in the recently published article, just today published article. And the essence of that is, while increasing GER is important, creating hollow GER is detrimental, because if increasing GER is leading to lowering our employment rate, we have to look back and see what exactly we are doing. So there are several challenges in education system we are facing today, and we hope that our past experiences, our past legacy, our roots, our knowledge systems, the 14 Vidya, 14 Vidya and 64 Kala, we have to get reflections of these knowledge systems in our own education. And I think if we are able to do that, we will be able to create our own identity globally and rediscover the legacy which we had during the Nalanda and Takshashila time. And I am sure that the advice and inspiration as well as guidance from scholars such as Professor Tathagata Roy will go a very, very long way. I look forward to his address and wish the event very, very all the best. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Shri Tathagata Roy, Honourable Governor of Meghalaya, to release the analysis of Annual Quality Assurance Report AQAR of Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. Sir, please. I request all the esteemed other members also can join in releasing the books. Now I request Honourable Governor to give his address on reflections of higher education scenario post COVID-19. Sir, please.
Thank you. Director of NAC, Shri S.C. Sharma, Vice Chairman of UGC, Shri Bhushan Patwardhan, Vice Chancellors, Director of IQAC, Shri Amya Kumar Rath, Principals, Professors, NAC officers, staff, all academicians across the country, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to address such a august body of academicians all across the country. I don't know if I deserve this honor. And Professor S.C. Sharma has sung a lot of praise of me, which I am not sure that I deserve. A few things I would, however, like to add to what he had said, that my having worked in the Indian Railways for 23 years and thereafter having switched to academics and taught in Jadavpur University for 20 years in an engineering subject had equipped me in a very interesting way, that I had exposure or involvement in the teaching of engineering as well as in the employment or in the utilization of the products of my labor, namely my students. So that way, perhaps I am somewhat uniquely involved or uniquely qualified. Apart from that, I do not claim any other qualifications. And what Professor Sharma has said about me, quite a lot of it, I suppose, is exaggeration. Now, before I go on to the subject of the talk, I am tempted to make a few comments on what Professor Patwardhan had said. Very interesting and very sage remarks, with which I agree entirely. As a matter of fact, this is a thing that had agitated my mind several times, and I had tried to bring it to the notice of not only academicians in the country, but to educational administrators, particularly in the Ministry of HRD. I am sure that they have taken note of what I had said, and something must be in the process, but it has not come out in the open yet. And therefore, I think I ought to bear my thoughts before this August gathering. See, let us take the field of literature in which all of us can participate. See, I come from the state of West Bengal. Now, in West Bengal, if you just corner a person who has done literature in any subject, English, Bengali, Hindi, or whatever, in any subject, a fairly accomplished academic person, and you ask him, have you heard of Shakespeare? He would say, of course. And have you heard of Shelley? He'd say, of course. I have read Shelley, I have read Shakespeare, I have read Keats. Now, supposing I ask him, have you heard of Fakirmohan Senapati? He would not be able to answer. My bet is that he would not be able to answer. Then if I ask him, have you heard of Phanishwarnath Renu? He wouldn't be able to answer. Have you heard of the poet Lakshminath Bejbarua? He wouldn't be able to answer. But who are these three gentlemen? Fakirmohan Senapati, Phanishwarnath Renu, and Lakshminath Bejbarua. These are literatures from the three provinces, from three states, which are neighbors of West Bengal. Fakirmohan Senapati from Odisha, Phanishwarnath Renu from Bihar, and Lakshminath Bejbarua from Assam. Now, our system, this system which is imposed by Macaulay, about which Professor Patwardhan very correctly and justifiably remarked, equips to know something that was written by the literatures of some place some 10,000 kilometers away, but we don't know about the literatures of the states which abut our state. Now that cannot be a healthy situation, and we've got to change it. Something very drastic has got to be done to correct this situation. It is necessary, more necessary, for people of any state to know about the contributions, about the prominent literatures, scientists, men of letters, other states of India, rather than those of England or United States or even Latin America. West Bengal, a highly left-oriented state, whole lot of people have heard of Pablo Neruda. Imagine people having heard of Pablo Neruda and not having heard of Lakshminath Besbarua. I think that is a shame. Now let us come to the subject that I have been asked to speak on. That is to say, my reflections on higher education scenario in the post-COVID-19 situation. Before I get on to the subject, I'd just like to enter a caveat that today knowledge, human knowledge, is expanding so fast and so exponentially that it is difficult for a person to keep a tab, to know even the very basics of whatever is happening in other disciplines. Now, if you know only about your own discipline, then you are not a complete academician in that sense, in the sense that you are not qualified to speak on a broad subject like the one that I have been asked to speak on. I had realized this shortcoming of mine, or many of us, very recently when I had been called to chair upon a convocation of an university in Meghalaya, of which I am the ex officio chancellor. Then there were other academicians present, and one of them happened to speak about blockchain. And I was wondering what blockchain could be. But of course, I didn't let it out that I don't know the first thing about it. So after I came back to Raj Bhavan, I opened Google. And what I saw about blockchain, I promptly closed it because it just didn't, I was just not qualified to understand it. I just mentioned this incident to underline the fact that this is as fast as the boundaries of human knowledge are expanding at the moment. Now, about the post-COVID scenario, let us divide education into higher education, that is, into two broad parts. One is those branches of education where a considerable amount of hands-on practice by students in laboratories, workshops, and running establishments such as hospitals, factories, mines, etc. are required. Often travel is also required, physical travel, not virtual travel. Physical travel is required. Now, in this group, there are a lot of subjects of technology, but other subjects also. I shall just name off the principal broad subjects in which you require this kind of hands-on participation by students. The first, of course, is medicine and surgery. You cannot have medicine and surgery taught anywhere without being attached to a hospital. Veterinary sciences, more or less the same thing. Then core and derived engineering and technological disciplines, such as civil engineering, the subject or slight variant of which subject I had taught for the last 20 years. mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, mining engineering, aeronautical engineering, agricultural engineering, environmental engineering, marine engineering, automobile engineering, metallurgy, hydraulic engineering, and computer hardware. These are subjects that no one can master without having a direct face-to-face, at least I would say in the present situation, at least without having any kind of person-to-person interaction between the teacher and the taught. To this category, I would also add basic sciences like physics, chemistry, geology, life sciences, anthropology, etc. These subjects also cannot be taught or cannot be absorbed without hands-on practice by students in laboratories. Now, this is this is one category. As opposed to these, there are a category of subjects in which it is not as if no hands-on practice is required, but some limited hands-on practice will do. In this category, I would place most humanities subjects. Most humanities subjects would mean languages, literature, history, sociology, subjects which can be learned from a book, subjects in which you do not require access to a laboratory or access to an establishment or access to a running establishment or access to a mine, for instance, or an aircraft factory or something of the sort. In addition to the humanities subjects, there are others, like for instance, subjects relating to commerce. Commerce can be learned from a book, or it can be learned by distance education, which is the subject that I'll presently come to. Mathematics. Pure mathematics and applied mathematics can both be learned from a book, that is to say, without face-to-face interaction, physical interaction between the teacher and the taught. Economics, statistics, psychology, not psychiatry because that is the discipline of medicine, but psychology. Pedagogy, that is the science of teaching. Computer software. Computer software requires access to a laboratory, but that laboratory is not very expensive to the extent that it is more or less in this category. I would say it is more or less in this category, although it requires some laboratory practice as compared to other subjects like in humanities subjects or commerce subjects. Then there is law. Law is another subject which can be taught without physical interaction between the teacher and the taught. Then you have divinity. The teaching of divinity, that is Purohit Tantra. This is not seriously taught in our country. It ought to be taught. I personally think it ought to be taught. Then theology for Christians, Quran and Hadith for Muslims. These are subjects that can be largely learned from books. Books include e-books, of course. Now, for the first category, the teacher and the taught have to come to face-to-face contact, and the theoretical part can be dealt like the second group, but then the theoretical part is a relatively small part of it. In the second category, as opposed to that, there is very limited interaction required, and very considerable amount of knowledge can pass from the teacher to the taught without any kind of physical contact or anything hands-on. The non-interactive part can be handled online. like video conferencing or what I am doing just now. I am speaking to you, this august audience, in spite of being thousands of kilometers, in some cases, thousands of kilometers away from you. And technology has made it possible. Now, this technology is an extremely highly evolving technology. And as we progress from year to year, even from month to month, this thing will improve. So much so that after some time, it might be possible to impart this without physical contact in perhaps 3 dimensions. I'm just guessing wildly, but who could have thought some time back that 3D copying is possible, and with 3D copying, you can prepare, you can make machine parts. So 3D presence of a teacher in the room of the taught while being physically away from him should be possible in a few years. I don't see why not. And this, in subjects of the second category, would be almost as effective, no less effective than face-to-face teaching. Whether it can completely replace face-to-face teaching or not is a different question. After all, when I am sitting with my fellow students and I am seeing my teacher on a rostrum and he is talking to me, it creates certain feelings in one which cannot be entirely understood by simply trying to transmit it through some electronic medium. But the quality of transmission, as I said a little while back, will improve. And as it improves, it will come closer and closer to a teacher standing on a rostrum. Now, whether it will amount to almost the same thing is something which we shall have to see in the coming years. Now, with the existing educational infrastructure, the time slots of interaction between the teacher and the taught can be staggered suitably with a view to optimize the use of the infrastructure. This is the crux of my reflection. You see, I have divided the subjects into 2 groups. In the first group, I have put subjects which will require considerable hands-on work. In the second category, I have put subjects which will require a minimum of hands-on work, but it won't be possible totally without it, because some interaction is bound to be necessary. So with these things, we have educational infrastructure, we have a college building or a university building, we have administrative staff for the college and the university, we have various other paraphernalia, we have things like registration of a student, collection of his fees, and stuff like that. All of these things can be digitized and done through electronic media. And the imparting of teaching through this media can be optimized within the existing infrastructure in such a way that the infrastructure can be used to the maximum extent. Much greater juice can be squeezed out of the infrastructure. And the bulk of the expenditure that we incur on education is, I wouldn't say bulk, but a very considerable part of the expenditure that we incur on education, higher education, consists of this infrastructure. So if we can optimize this infrastructure, we can very easily see to what extent we would be able to affect economies. We should be able to get more out of what we have, and a much larger number of students can be taken, because in taking students under an existing infrastructure and arranging for their face-to-face teaching we would be limited by the size of our infrastructure. But here the size becomes irrelevant. With the same setup, just with a few more computers and a system of and a technology, we should be able to teach twice the number of students, 3 times the number of students. So to that extent, the teaching can be made much more widespread, and at the same time, the best possible teachers in the country can be put to use in imparting the knowledge, so that to that extent the students are benefited. This is not going to be as easy as it might look at first sight. There are several pitfalls that are immediately coming to my mind as I say these words, and I shall try to share them with you. Examinations, for one thing. Sorry. Examinations covering paper setting, moderating, conducting, and appraisal will have to be thoroughly reformatted. And these will have to be done with the necessary kind of confidentiality. We already have open book examinations in our country. These open book examinations can be made more popular, but with open book examinations, the students would be handicapped to the extent that they wouldn't know what book to consult when answering. And even if they know, they may not have that book physically with them. So they may have to access that book online, and that will mean time. How exactly that examination can be conducted is not a thing that I can easily conceive of right now. So that is why I'm saying that these things will have to be reformatted. We have to think, we have to do really out of the box thinking with these different facets of educational technology. Then there is a problem of the gearing of examinations. By gearing of examinations, I mean that, the school leaving certificate is geared to the admission tests or admission processes of higher institutions. So if we optimize the infrastructure in such a way that the school leaving certificates, school leaving examinations take place in August in a given year, and the admission process takes place in, say, June in that year, then it is of no use, because the students will have to wait for 10 months to get admission. This is certainly not satisfactory. Some way will have to be found out of these problems that suggest themselves to my mind. I am sure that there would be many more such problems, but I am equally confident that we shall be able to do something about them to usher in a completely new era, completely new set of thinking in terms of the new age, the new post-COVID age. There is another flip side to it. Lifelong friendships are forged in an academic institution. Say, for instance, people make friends who remain friends for their whole lives. At least that is the case with me. And they enjoy themselves hugely with being with these friends. Wedlocks are entered into. Boy and girl fall in love. Why be in the same class? They get married. What is going to happen to these processes? Can these things be done online, digitally? I have my doubts because these are emotional matters, and these are whether it is possible to digitize emotion or not. I'm not qualified to say anything, but these are problems. I have, while answering this question, I have tried to delve in my own personal experience. I spent 5 years in a residential college called Bengal Engineering College in Shibpur, Howrah in West Bengal. And those were the best 5 years of my life. I wouldn't trade them for anything else. I have tried to think what it would have been like if instead of spending these 5 years, I had been imparted my education digitally or over a distance. And I have not been pleased with the result. Of course, even in the first category of subjects, it has to be understood, even in the second category of subjects, it has to be understood that some interaction will definitely be necessary. It is not as if it will come down to zero, but it will come down to something much, much lesser than what is right now the position. So this is something that we shall have to give a thought to, and something will have to be evolved. I don't know how exactly these things can be solved, but I'm sure that some solution can be found by putting our heads together. Professor Rath, am I coming to the end of my time? I'll take another 5 minutes. Would that be all right? Very good. Now, one question. In order to make all these changes to this out of the box thinking and implementing this thinking, did we need COVID? Why couldn't we think of these things even without COVID? Why couldn't we imagine these things happening without there being COVID? Now, I have not been able to find an answer to that, except that we could have, but would not have experimented with this thing but for COVID. It is said that necessity is the mother of invention. Here, COVID confronted us with a necessity, and therefore we have come out with innovative solutions. There is a lesson in it. Some good always emerges out of some bad. COVID was unadulterated bad luck. But out of that, if we come out with a novel system of education, as I have been trying to imagine over the last half an hour, then that will be something to come, something good coming out. I am also reminded of shloka from Vrihadaranyaka Upanishad, where it is said, Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mritor ma amritam gamaya, om shanti, om shanti, om shanti. One who recites these mantras realizes that such things are full of holes. Our life, our problems, the odd situations, the unwelcome situations that we come across, they are soaked in pain, and even in abundance will forever leave us wanting. It is with this full understanding that one turns to this prayer. The essence of each of these three mantras is the same. O Guru, help me free myself from my sundry misunderstandings regarding myself, the universe, and God, and bless me with true knowledge. We, as mere mortals, may not have true knowledge, but we can strive towards true knowledge. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having given me the opportunity to lay these thoughts before you. And with these words, I conclude. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. What a brilliant presentation. Very good.
Sir, we have question answer session now. We have received, there are more than 15,000 academicians are participating in this webinar from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and particularly from the state of Northeastern. Sir, we have received a lot of questions from different academicians. We have selected some questions by your views and guidance, sir. Sir, let me read out the questions. Shall I read out the question, sir?
Yes, please, please.
All the alternate technology that is relied upon for this distress situation is online classes and examinations. In this rugged terrain like that of the Northeast, where internet reliability is too less, how do we manage the situation?
See, you have asked, you have used the expression distress situation. I get back to the early part of my lecture in which I had mentioned my distress at hearing something called blockchain. So I am really not qualified to answer this question, but I'll try to the extent I can. I understand that some resources in this regard are already available, like NPTEL, MOOCs, SWAYAM, etc. And preparedness through recorded video repository can help in managing this situation. In terms of relay, the insinuations may explore with local cable channels or institute radio channels covering the frequency of their district so that this can plan for live relay of common classes. This is absolutely outside my discipline, and I frankly, if you ask me another question, a supplementary on this, I won't be able to answer. So here I stop.
For Atma Nirbhaya Bharat.
Yes.
Kindly
What about Nirbhar Bharat?
Atma Nirbhaya Bharat, sir.
Ah,
Government scheme.
yes. See, Atmanirbhar Bharat is a concept which has just been floated by our Prime Minister. And we are still to learn quite a few things about it. But as far as I have understood, it is not entirely the kind of Swadeshi that we used to understand in the British times, when we used to boycott British goods. I have had some interactions with some very Kattar Swadeshis in this regard, and I shall give you very briefly the gist of what I had discussed with this, the kind of interaction that I had. One gentleman said, "Why are you drinking Coke?" I was drinking a Coke because somebody else had served a Coke. I normally don't drink sodas. Somebody had served it, so I was drinking. Why are you drinking a Coke? You don't believe in Swadeshi. I said, supposing I stop drinking Coke and I legislate Coke out of our country, then supposing somebody legislates Indian technologists from working in their country, then what is going to happen? Then the gentleman said, Hone do, kya jata hai? Then I said, no, it is not that simple. यदि ऐसा किया जाए तो it is quite possible that we will lose a lot of foreign exchange. Then that gentleman said, वो भी होने दो. Then I said, where shall we get our foreign exchange? How shall we buy our oil? We don't have enough oil in the country. So it is not the same as what we used to have in the 1930s and 40s when we used to talk about boycotting British goods. It's a global village. It's an interdependent world. So therefore, we have to do these things in a different way. But I understand Atmanirbhar Bharat or Swadeshi in this sense that Indians will, because of superior technology or lower price, buy Indian cars, not the kind of low technology cars that we used to see until the 80s, but very advanced cars which are made in India and which are made cheaper than anywhere else. If you go to South Korea, for instance, you would find everybody riding a Hyundai. Why? Because it is not because of any, not only because of any kind of patriotic fervor, but because it's a superior car and it's cheaper. In Italy, if you go, you find everybody riding a Fiat. In France, everybody's riding a Renault or a Peugeot or Citroën. Why? Because the technology is great and the price is the least. That is why people do. That is what I understand by Atmanirbhar Bharat. We will make our own cars here and people will buy it because they're of the quality of our technology. That's how we should become Atmanirbhar. Yes, I'm sorry, there was something when you mentioned the case of the northeastern states in particular. Yes, northeastern states have a very unique role to play in these things because northeastern states have a tremendous potential for tourism. I think of all the things, all the assets that the northeastern states have, say forest wealth, oil, hydroelectricity, a whole lot of things. I think the greatest asset of the northeastern states is tourism potential. And through all these things, oil, tourism, forest wealth, hydroelectricity, we should be able to purchase foreign exchange and use that foreign exchange in furthering our Atmanirbharta. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next question is, sir, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAC, insists on internships and placements and counts that as one of the major outcome of higher education. Northeast states of India, opportunities for both are less.
See, it is a fact. The opportunities are less, but the opportunities are growing. What it is like, I remember my daughter was attending a university in a college in Delhi. And once she came along with a friend, we were having lunch together. She came along with a friend, and my daughter said that this is my friend, I forget her name, and she is a Naga from Manipur. Then I said, you must be Tangkhul. Then this girl's eyes almost popped out. And she said, this is the first time I have been asked that question. This is only because of ignorance of the rest of the country about the Northeast. And there is a reciprocal ignorance in the Northeast also. This has got to be broken. And this has got to be done by governmental effort, which is right now, it's not that it is not there, but it is inadequate. That is why it is most important that there is more interaction between the Northeast and the the Northeast is absolutely brimming with potential and assets. We have to make good use of it, and this will promote interactions between Northeast and the rest of India.
So next question is, right now the changes that we have in the higher education are measures to overcome the lockdown situations and social distancing. Will this become part of the system even in future?
See, this is very difficult to understand. I mean, very difficult to answer because COVID is not a thing that we have had before. Nobody knows the first thing about COVID. People blame the government for having started the lockdown and then not having got any results out of the lockdown. Now, did anyone know how long COVID is going to last? Do we know even now how long COVID is going to last? It's going to be something if a vaccine is discovered, it's going to be something else if another vaccine is not discovered, if herd immunity is generated. We don't know the answers to any of the questions. So this is not a question that can be answered. Even the best brains of the world would be foxed to answer this question.
So one last question is, what are your advice to higher education institutions in Northeast India in particular to develop global competencies?
See, very recently, I had been to a couple of, in a couple of occasions, I had been to the NEHU, that is the Northeastern Hill University, and I learned something very interesting. Say, for instance, in Japan, caregivers are at a great premium because Japan has a very large old population and there aren't enough caregivers. They have the money, but where are the caregivers? They usually take a lot of Filipinos, but even Filipinos, that many Filipinos are not there. So if we can, all that our boys and girls need to do is to learn Japanese. Once they can do that, then jobs as caregivers you can get them just like that in Japan. I have been told that by people in the university. And the interesting thing is that the Japanese people, they prefer people from Northeast because their food habits are the same. They look a little bit like the Japanese, and somehow the Japanese have an idea that they would be better suited to the situation. So that is one of the things that I would recommend, that language training, particularly Japanese, Korean, these languages, if students from the Northeast, they try to master these languages, it would be a great help and a huge employment generator.
So this is end of question answer session.
Right.
Now, I will propose the formal vote of thanks. Respected professors, I deem it a duty to propose vote of thanks for all those who are responsible for the success of this webinar. I express my sincere thanks to His Excellency Shri Tathagata Roy, Honourable Governor of Meghalaya, for releasing the annual quality assurance reports of Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. I also express my appreciation and gratitude for having accepted our invitation and gave an excellent talk on reflections of higher education scenario post COVID-19 on this NAC web platform. Thank you, sir. It is also my privilege to thank Professor Bhushan Patwardhan, Vice Chairman, University Grants Commission, New Delhi, for sharing his thoughts on education as our guest of honor. I thank our beloved director, Professor S.C. Sharma, who is always a source of inspiration for all of us. His leadership made all of us to commit and work with the team spirit. I thank him all for his support and guidance. Many professors, vice chancellors, and academicians from various parts of the country have participated and witnessed this significant event. I thank you all. Last but not least, it's my duty to appreciate and thank Dr. Srikant Swami and Dr. Vaidul Asan for their initiatives and involvement in bringing out these publications. I thank all my officers of NAC and my ICT team in making this webinar a memorable one. Once again, I thank all the participants in YouTube and Twitter. I thank the NIC team from Meghalaya and ABC, Governor's Office. I thank all of you. Thank you, sir. Now I request all the participants to rise for National Anthem. This is end of the event. This is end of the event. Thank you all for participating. Thank you.